Hey everybody, welcome again to another Bitcoin news show. We're here again Mondays at 8 p.m. Pacific talking Bitcoin. Tonight we actually got a special guest joining us, Mr. Blake Miles. How you doing?
How's it going?
We got him joining us. We'd like to talk about an article that he's just written and want to go around everybody and with everybody and see what they think about that. We also, of course, got Dustin here from Bitcoin Art Gallery. How you doing, Dustin? Awesome. We got, of course, joining us again, we got Daniel. It's been a little while, so really glad to see you again. Daniel from You and Me BTC. How you doing, man?
That's right. Glad to be here, and I do accept Bitcoin.
Yes, just like the shirt says. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it kind of made me jealous. You know, we were talking about before the show. I need to get a Bitcoin shirt on here. I don't know why I haven't been wearing more Bitcoin shirts, but that's fine. That's the way it is. So thanks again, guys. Thanks everybody so much for joining us. We got busy schedules and stuff like that, but we're all just here talking Bitcoin for the fun of it, to help educate the public and get a discussion going and help really explain to people what Bitcoin is and what it means. So Blake, thanks again for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
I've read this article, and I got to say, there's a few things that definitely struck home to me. I definitely recognized a few of the things that you outlined in the article from being a part of the discussion for the past year and reading Reddit articles and CoinDesk articles and everything. And very interesting stuff, man. It definitely hit home to me. If you could maybe go into a little bit of your history, explain how it is that you went and actually got this information, obtained this information, how you use this information, and then we'll get into the article itself. So maybe a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I joined the Army right out of high school back in 2002, and I enlisted as a Special Forces recruit. So I went in infantry basic, and then airborne school, and then Special Forces selection, and it was about a two-year pipeline training, and then finally got to a team. Did a trip to Iraq in 2006. I was in Samarra when the Golden Mosque got blown up. So I did some intel work over there. Compared to a lot of guys, my time in SF was pretty short. I mean, I was there for about five years total. But, it was definitely enough for me to learn a lot. And I probably had a good amount of money spent on my training. So, I got completely out of the military back in 2011 and started going to school full time, then got into Bitcoin just in July of this year. So once I started getting into Bitcoin, just the possibilities of what could be done with it, my brain just exploded with it, going to that fugue state that, I've heard Andreas Antonopoulos talk about it, that fugue state of losing considerable amount of weight, not sleeping for weeks. Yeah. I've been down that rabbit hole for a while now. So, it's been really exciting, and, it's been interesting to learn about something that I can see changing the face of what's coming down the road, getting out in front of some of the chaos that seems to be inevitably coming, and having a buffer to that. So when I started, I remember going this phase transition of being really excited about Bitcoin, learning all about it, and then you start to hear more of these rumblings going on, learning more about this block size debate, like what the hell is this, and what does it mean? How is it going to affect the bottom line of what Bitcoin's worth? And these are the things that my brain starts thinking about. And then, reading more and more into Reddit, I think there's a palpable change. Like one day when I saw r/BTC, I went over there and I started reading some of the comments. I realized that I wasn't as angry when I was reading those. And it got me thinking that, like, all right, there's something going on. There's just a negative atmosphere that's coming through in a lot of these communication channels. And generally, there's no need to be angry in this ecosystem. Like, what can be done with Bitcoin and digital currencies in general, it doesn't seem to be something that people should be getting extremely upset over, but they are. So I started, I just wanted to dive down deeper into where that was coming from. And I started working with 21 Computer, and getting into the Slack channel over there, and that's how I met some people over at Bitcoin Magazine. And I wrote an article for ZapChain a while ago called "Cryptocurrencies and Unconventional Warfare," basically outlining what can be done with digital currencies in an unconventional warfare space. And a lot of that was related to just, how you can manipulate currencies and gather intelligence and build up human intelligence networks with digital currencies, and how much easier that is than, carrying around suitcases full of cash. And just that alone is, it's game changing. There's a lot of stuff that can be done with this. So the article that I just wrote for Bitcoin Magazine was more along the lines of, if I was coming at Green Berets, Army Special Forces, what our purpose is unconventional warfare, to take down a standing government or support an existing government against an insurgency. So we play, we're trained to play either side of that equation. So if I was coming at Bitcoin is kind of like an insurgent. It would be the equivalent of an insurgent group. It's an insurgent mentality that it stands to threaten existing power models and how things work right now. So it would be like fighting against an insurgency. And the easiest way to break up an insurgency is just completely get in their heads, use what resources you have at your disposal, and you start to cause chaos and strife within their own ranks. And then you don't have to worry about them because they're killing themselves. So, reading through some of these Reddit comments, I knew what was coming. I knew, what I wrote was going to be under the microscope, and I would be personally getting some heat, basically saying I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But the hope of what I putting this article out would be is that the communication between the people who have a legitimate interest in seeing Bitcoin or digital currency successful, they start to change their communication from, I wonder if this is happening, to where is it happening already, and how can we be aware of it and defend against it more actively, rather than just being, my feeling is that a lot of people are just being played because they're not aware that they're being played, and it's as simple as that.
Very interesting.
So I think I rambled on enough about that.
No, very interesting. You see, because this is kind of what I was feeling too, because I participate in Reddit and CoinDesk, and there was definitely some people in there that, I think were that I think were intentionally causing some chaos, because just like you said, there's no reason to really get too upset. Remember, Bitcoin is completely opt-in, right? This is a non-violent revolution, and I think that getting angry over this stuff is just not worth it. That's going to defeat the whole purpose. And so we've had all sorts of volatility in the conversation and toxicity in the conversation, and I think that this part of it is definitely a direct result from some kind of external incursion, because we all know that Bitcoin is threatens the status quo, right? It threatens the most powerful entities on the planet, and have been the most powerful entities on the planet for hundreds of years. So we know that they're going to do all sorts of different stuff, and it's not unfeasible to think that they're going to use everything at their disposal, every tool at their disposal, especially tools that they're teaching to soldiers every day. The stuff that's well known, proven, stuff like that to work. So I'd like to go around and just get some questions from you guys for Blake, and see what we can do. If anybody in the chat also has a question, just type a /Q in front of it so I can see it in the left-hand corner. But so if you guys got any questions, do that. But first, Justin, I'd like to see if you got any questions for Blake and this article.
Yeah, actually I did. I had a lot of questions.
Awesome.
Okay, so for me, you're gonna have to break things down very slowly, because I'm acquainted with these concepts that are in your article, but only in the vaguest way. So you popped up in my news feed because you mentioned the art of war, and so I run the Bitcoin Art Gallery. So I have a general Google search out for all times the word Bitcoin and art are mentioned.
Interesting convergence there.
You popped up in my feed, and I was like, the Art of War. I read the Art of War. I'll click on this. And then I saw the quote, and I was like, oh, he's telling me I'm being socially manipulated, essentially. And I'm like, this looks vaguely true to me. And I have all these. If you've ever been to my website, I have thousands of Bitcoin pictures. And I'm sure some of those were created as propaganda, mind control, mind think, group think tools designed to manipulate the thinking and sway it one way or another. And I'm essentially just collecting them and sharing them. So I'm participating that way. And then I had a lot of questions and how I felt about participating that way in my role. And so I wanted to hear you break it down to like explain like I'm 5, sharing Bitcoin pictures and how that could be used to do what you're saying. So explain it to like, you know, you find a picture, you think it's funny or clever or whatever, so you share it with your friends. And I understand that from your article, it looks like that could be used for these techniques here. Character assassination, depress positive momentum, right? Intensifying discussion. I definitely have pictures like that in my gallery here.
I would say the easiest way to do something like that is like you have to think of it in terms of you have a toolbox. You have a toolbox full of different tools that do different things for different jobs. So if you have pictures, we'll say like the Mike Hearn is a good example in recent memory. Some people know what Mike Hearn looks like. Some people aren't, but his name is more recognizable. So memes become really useful. And that's like, you know, you have to identify an opportunity, look at your overall strategic objective. What do you want to accomplish? And determine whether or not that image placed in the proper location at the proper tempo is going to satisfy what you're trying to get to. So if you're trying to destroy someone's reputation through a meme, you throw the same meme, the same type of meme about their personality, their persona, repeatedly in different spots.
I saw this exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, me too. I saw some classic memes. Sorry, go ahead, Dustin.
There was a picture everyone was sharing where it was one Slack quote taken, just one quote of someone in Slack taken out of everything else is deleted, and just that one was shared like 100 times all over the place. And it was and then if you actually found the original with the rest of the stuff, it was like a conversation in which that was just part of the context, and that spread through development channels. So
yeah. It creates that magical FUD term. It just ripples that fear, and that's the goal. I mean, I think that someone was saying something on Reddit. I was just reading. I put out a message saying, "Hey, I'm the author. If anyone's got any questions, I'll try and answer them." I'll probably regret that in the morning, but it's basically I was just pointing out that like the goal for someone that wants to destabilize Bitcoin isn't to pick a side, you know, one side or the other. It's simply to create confusion and demoralize. And if you can demoralize your enemy without putting much money, resources, time, or energy into it,
what do you think?
It's easy.
If you had to put a cost on say sock puppet accounts and the expertise you would need to do that and have someone manage that, if you were going to employ someone, what price tag would you say?
Maybe for the whole team, but what would the price be for a whole team to operate?
Could you measure how much disruption by money and talent? Like in your articles, you mentioned hiring a team of developers, and you could even get anonymous developers. That seems expensive.
Yeah, I think there has to be an alignment of motives, or there has to be an alignment of incentives. I don't think you can, you could pay a lot of money to have some really talented people, but if their motives aren't there, then it's not going to be as good. But I'll just admit, I don't know what the cost would be, what the actual resource cost would be of putting together a multitude of sock puppet accounts. But just knowing the logic, I think it would be relatively simple given a good amount of training and time. If you spend a lot of time messing around with Twitter, social media accounts, and JavaScript, and programming languages of any sort, you're going to find ways that you can duplicate efforts, write scripts so that multiple things can happen at the same time, and you can maximize your efforts without putting much energy into it.
So here's a question I have about that. It sounds to me that sounds, creating a multitude of kind of social and responsive bots that appear legitimate seems like an incredibly difficult task. I mean, with the, on Jeopardy they had Watson, and he guessed that he in Final Jeopardy he said Toronto. The category was U.S. cities, and his answer was Toronto. So like, I mean, he was a decent bot. He made some great conversation, and he had some great facts from the internet, and he won the game. But to me, it sounds like, to make it legitimate and realistic would be a huge task. Now, there's two kind of caveats there that I think make this doable, and I want to know if you agree. The first one is that it's the government, and they have virtually unlimited resources, and we know there has to be tons and tons of things that they can do that we can't even imagine. So maybe that's part of it. And the other thing that I would guess is that when you're online and it's all anonymous, if one of your bots slips up and says that Toronto is a U.S. city, you just dispose of it. Is that correct? Are there other things?
Well, I think there's a difference between purely automated bots and the automated creation of accounts that can be used at later times by either individuals, like with intentionally, they intentionally write up whatever they want, or they write up a database of things that they want to say and just put it on, auto repeat, or, actually having a computer conjure up something to say. So like one of the comments coming down below is, like making hundreds of accounts is relatively simple. It's just you recruit people. You can recruit different people to do different things on a small scale, and you scatter that far and wide. You're going to have a lot of people moving the ball around for you. I hope that kind of answers your question.
So it seems like, it seems like you could just have a few set of phrases, really. I mean, maybe even under 100, because the block size debate is so niche and so specific that I could think of like 100 phrases right now that would seriously piss people off to the point that, like, just a few. I would search for a few specific words in the phrase and then respond with a phrase. So if anybody says something to do with Blockstream, right? Bam, automatically put like, oh, Blockstream
and that stuff's really simple.
Blockstream has captured the developers. We can't trust core. They've captured it, and that right there can start a whole thing, and then you could have a couple responses. So I guess that's probably does that seems like that's how they.
Yeah, and those scenarios are more efficient. Like it's less taxing on your resources. Like I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Jester. He's on Twitter. He does crypto hacking, or not crypto hacking, but hacking he's a hacktivist for good, or a hacktivist for United States. So I support the dude. He's don't know who he is, but he's awesome. And one thing he was telling me is that, or one thing he repeats frequently, is that a small team of A players can run circles around huge groups of B players. And the reason for that is like you align incentives and motives and these resources. You can get a lot more done with a small team than you can with a huge team of a lot of people who don't really care or don't really have the talent to back it up. And one thing that was mentioned earlier is I don't think this is so much government entities. Like I would be I would assume that pretty much every major government around the world has teams focused on digital currencies and Bitcoin and keeping track of the space and, having intelligence analysis on different developments. But I would venture to guess that more of the effective tools would be coming from, extra business entities, like just people playing around in the dark that are operating on behalf of other players.
Maybe banks, I would assume, right?
That's what I would be doing.
Okay, that's what
Let's put it that way. And I think that's kind of like the underlying theme of the article I tried to write is this is what I would be doing. And if I had the resources and the time and the talent at my disposal and I really wanted to, this is what I would be doing.
So Mad Bitcoin says an interesting question. Is it easier to buy your own fake network or to just make your own fake network? Because the comments seem to say that why not just buy a fake network?
Why not buy your own network?
I don't know if that's something that can be sold or it's something that.
Well, yeah, I think it could be sold.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be like that stuff can be sold, but I don't think it's going to be as effective as if you have some people diving in. Yeah, because like arguing this stuff and trying to push the the two sides of a debate into each other and to make them antagonistic toward each other, it requires a degree of planning and strategic thought, and just firing and forget, I would say, is less likely in most cases, but I think there's probably a lot of scenarios where it could be really effective.
Could I question that?
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we know that is not that all the wacko accusing each other and vitriol isn't actually normal human interaction, and we've just never seen it before in this type of way because the tools weren't present, and since their money is at stake, it's a new weird space where they become emotional over nonsense, like they're becoming emotional over a specific line of code which they don't have a great understanding of, but they've got tens of thousands, $1 million tied up in all of a sudden, and so they write fanatically, and then they throw $500 at a bot guy who puts out a bunch of stuff for a month saying, "Oh, this is bad, that is good, he's bad." And that's just not the normal human emotional response, rather than organized. Because I understand the idea of organized behavior, how it could be done.
Well, let me say
something. It seems
something.
like it totally could be done, but I just don't know that what we see now isn't just natural human arguments taking place.
I definitely want to say something. Then I want to hear from Blake, but on that, but because this is what I keep questioning. Like, think about the people that are talking about Bitcoin and stuff, right? These are super intelligent people, programmers, tech people, usually traditionally happy people, right? Because obviously tech jobs.
No. What are you talking about? The devs talk nasty to each other all the time. If you read like the devs chat back and forth,
maybe friends and friends, but I'm talking about actual just a developer, talking to another smart person or another programmer. In general, right? There's always been like a respect. I mean, the whole community.
No. Some of those devs have zero respect. They have negative respect scores with each other, and all they do is insult each other. And that's all they've done from day one.
Well, okay. Well, let's see what Blake says.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is there's hostility between them since the beginning.
I don't think that there's enough to create this type of toxicity to make the debate go on this long to create this amount of negativity. But go ahead, Blake. What do you think?
I would agree that it doesn't seem like it would be possible to organically, for that antagonism to organically sustain itself. And I think but
it's only a short time. This has only been a few years here of the conflict, right?
Well, the conflicts you're talking about between the devs, like, so, I'd say they have to start back at the beginning. Like, you can trace the roots of disagreements back to the foundations of things, and I'm sure if you dive down deep enough, you could find them in Bitcoin. But like with the devs, like, one thing you would do is you start to do personality profiles on all the key players in the ecosystem, and find out who their positive, neutral, and negative relationships are, and those are the things you can work to exploit. And if you go after them hard enough, you can start to cause bigger fractures, or you can decay existing relationships if it suits your ends. I mean, like all this, none of this stuff is new. It's just being applied effectively in this ecosystem. I think it's kind of like apparent. Like this stuff happens all the time in the political debates, and Republican. This is just Republican Democrat going back and forth, but it's just playing out in a different field. And I think it is a big part of the emotion. And the ability to appeal the emotion is because money is directly tied to it. I think that's a really important component.
Yeah, I suppose that could definitely be a reason why, you didn't see crazy fights like this over TCP or TCP/IP or back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. Because, it wasn't money, and this is money. So I guess for sure, naturally, this is going to trigger a different kind of debate, right? Possibly, I guess, a more emotionally triggered debate. There was, of course, the fighting over TCP/IP. Obviously, the whole 40 telecom companies trying to create X25 to
maybe they wrote.
But I'm saying there was not. I don't know if there was the kind of anger that we see in the block size debate.
And there wasn't the speed of communication and the cheapness of the communication at that time either.
At the time, so the debate couldn't have gotten very large. But now with we're living in a world now with unlimited communication and everybody's got 1080p streaming from their freaking phone. It definitely seems like, that's also part of the reason why why the negativity can proliferate so much. But it should also be the reason why positivity and sound reasoning should eventually shine through and come through. And this is why we have articles created by yourself to hopefully shine light on these types of debates, just a little bit of extra light to kind of take a step back and be like, put yourself out of the small block size, big block size for a second, and take a 10,000 foot view and just look over and see, okay, what does this team have to gain? What does this team have to gain? And why are there teams at all? And what's the differences between these teams? And I guess you can start to really, put a picture together. But anything to say on that, Dustin or
I think I don't think there's any question about it that it's human nature to just bitch a lot. I mean, to some extent. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is a natural thing, but that doesn't mean that any opponents aren't capitalizing on that and digging into people's values and both positive and negative and amplifying those to cause disruption and break things apart. So I think it can kind of be both. It can both be natural and provoked at the same time.
For sure, that makes sense.
And that's the judo concept that you take your opponent's energies and use it against them.
So what does the art of war say we're supposed to do?
I thought that was Aikido.
Maybe it is Aikido. Yeah, you're right.
What is the defense maneuver here?
The biggest defense is being aware that it's happening and trying to plan out.
Education.
The education is a big part of it for the landscape, the human landscape. There's going to be key players that have to play roles that it's a lot like a chessboard. Like you have pawns, like the Reddit chat rooms are pawns fighting each other a lot of times, but then you get rooks and bishops in there, like with developer posts, and that changes. Like a single post from Luke Dash Jr. seems to open up the floodgates, and those sorts of things are significant actions that have to be attended to. So there's going back to the toolbox concept. There's a lot of different tools for a lot of different scenarios that have to be played out.
Do you think, for example, as I've heard other people tell me, that the Bitcoin Classic democratic voting tool that they are using, so that you can put your vote on the chart and say whether you like a proposal, you dislike a proposal, or an option or something, Do you think that is part of it? Because that it was created at the height of the debate and seems to be very central to the idea that the Bitcoin is not a democracy and that we don't want it to be a democracy. And how that debate turned out, because it wasn't like true voting. It wasn't like what we vote on gets enforced in the code. There's still like obviously just a developer between us and that. And so can't really compel that. But the mere presence of it seemed to incite a whole nother level of vitriol everywhere. And I was like, that was such a strong response that I was like, wow, I don't know if I should do this, if I should participate in this, because I don't understand it well enough. And it seems to be that sounds like what you were talking about right there with causing the bigger conflict.
And I'll admit ignorance on this one. I don't know a whole lot about the voting mechanism in Classic. I think I understand just like an overview of it, but if normally I would say that if there's something that comes out that attracts a lot of negative attention and gets a lot of that vitriol that you're talking about, chances are that's something that if there's a good number of people that are playing in this social engineering phase, that's what they don't want. The louder and angrier they get, those are the things that they want to steer people away from. And if it's something like bringing more of a decentralized, democratized approach to capital, I think that's what the end state is, to try to avoid or try to slow down the approach to that. This whole debate seems like it's just delaying the inevitable of, I don't see Bitcoin going away. I don't see any of the other altcoins being just disappeared, but it's going to take some time, and because we're in completely uncharted territories. Like, I think there's a lot of similarities to at least the American Revolution, where we're getting into territory that we don't know what the hell we're doing, really, because no one's ever done it before. So we're just making stuff up as we go along based on a global consensus that we're trying to hold together.
I shared the links in the chat if you can check them out.
Yeah, I have a question then about kind of the big picture. If because I agree, we're getting into all kinds of territory that we just don't know anything about. So it seems like you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, right? I mean, you had that time where you just couldn't get enough of it, and we all do and are still going through it. So what is it? But also, your article makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of, it would be hard to imagine the government or anyone anyone in power not being upset about something like this. So then what is it that keeps you an enthusiast when you know that it's being attacked on all sides?
I think it's that inevitability factor. I think one of the first things I realized once I found out about Bitcoin, I found out about Tor, and I just wanted to understand what the dark web was. And once I understood what's going on back there, I'm like, this is never going away. This is a complete Pandora's box. It's never going to be closed. It's just like the internet, and you can't undo this. So once I understood that, then it's just a matter of, all right, well, what technologies will this converge with next? And the scope of that has me excited enough to, I don't care about the block size debate, because I know in 1 year from now we're going to be talking about whatever other manufactured crisis is coming along the way, and but some at the same time, the people who are playing around with this stuff like we are right now are going to be doing much better off than those who are just finding out what the hell is Bitcoin. Like that sounds stupid. That's fake. That's fake internet money. Why would I want that?
Exactly.
Magic, you mean?
It's magic. It's magic internet money.
Magic money.
So yeah, so getting into a little bit of the tinfoil hat stuff on the chat while you guys were going, but yeah, people were talking about how governments are stupid and incompetent, and they can't hope to pull off some types of things like this. And I was telling them that, like, look, this is part of the plan. Like, it's like a smart comedian, playing a fool. Like, this is, for example, like Cheech and Chong or Ashton Kutcher. Like, these are incredibly smart people playing fools, right, on TV. So I'd like to get your opinion on that and what you think, because you've been inside the belly of the beast per se, right, as it was, and so you've seen the competence that goes around, the techniques deployed, the toolboxes created, and this stuff. This is high level stuff. They've been doing this for a long time, right? This is not any type of. This is the farthest from stupidity or ignorance. So I'd like to get your opinion on that, Blake.
I would. Like I said, I would be surprised if every nation around the world doesn't have a team of really intelligent people focused on nothing but Bitcoin. Whether or not they're actively participating, I would be surprised if they're not also actively participating in some way. But like at my level, we got much different things to worry about. Like at the level I was at. Just at the tactical and operational level on the ground and all the hot spots around the world. Now, it's interesting that the article I wrote on using cryptocurrencies in unconventional warfare, that's not really in play, and that's an indicator to me that governments aren't really using it to their benefit, at least not openly.
Why?
I would say that some are, but
no, I just mean why haven't like the elite military groups that are on deck hopped on it and published some papers and gotten on top of that, because it seems like it would be useful to them.
I didn't see the top of the mountain. I was at one of the base camps down at the bottom. So I don't know, I don't have much insight on what happens at the puzzle palaces down in D.C. or at any of the other higher level.
Oh, so you think it's politics rather than some sort of utility question?
Politics are always because what happens is you get a major at a special forces company. Writes up a paper saying this would be a really great tool that we could use overseas, and it would be a really powerful tool. Like if I was going into, say, Iraq again, and we had access to digital currencies that we could pay contractors with, and they knew that they had access to a legitimate source of revenue that was uncensorable.
And you had a permanent record of those transactions.
Exactly.
To report.
Exactly.
Right, because that was rather than the losses, right? Was bad record keeping, right?
Yep, and huge piles of cash are much easier to disappear. Well, can be, but anyway, like the politics is that someone down at the lower levels putting out a paper saying, "Hey, we need to use Bitcoin for doing this." They're not going to get promoted anymore, more than likely.
That's sad.
It's just it's the nature of the business. There's a lot of.
That's sad. That's exactly the person they should promote.
And they might get promoted. Like they might get scarfed up. Like a lot of times, the smartest ones end up like going other places. Like there's always other places to go in the system still. There's a bunch of different agencies that you can go to, but a lot of times guys just get out if they get sick of the politics, and that was part of it for me. But yeah,
I remember the question I had before I even got on here. Let me ask you this one. This is the one I thought of when I read your article. Is how do you know that Satoshi Nakamoto isn't a military psyops program from the get-go, and that all the conflict is the exact opposite of that, because the conflict is people like fighting the program, like the Matrix or something, perfect reality, but they control the perfect reality.
My instincts are that Satoshi was probably one of those really hyper intelligent teams that were hired to do something, and then they came across this this potential solution and, you know, pushed it out into the open under a pseudonym. That makes a lot of sense to me. As far as what they're doing now, yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that one. I don't know. I think it's probably a good thing that Satoshi is a pseudonymous person, because yeah, I don't
For sure.
that'd be just too easy to play with.
Exactly.
If it was revealed it was a military thing, would that change anybody's mind?
well,
For some,
well,
it's an idea that can't be killed, though. I'd say.
yeah, for sure. I personally, I don't want to throw too much speculation into the show and such, but personally, I said this before. I think that Bitcoin was definitely created by a rogue group in the CIA, either the CIA or the NSA. But I think it was more the CIA, because inside and even pretty much where you were, Blake. I mean, inside where those people are, they can see the effects that money has. They understand that they get taught about the Federal Reserve. They know about the Federal Reserve. I mean, I'm sure more people in the military, at least in the CIA, know about the Federal Reserve than regular average Joe. So they can see the views. They can see what's coming, right? They put the puzzle pieces together. They can see what's coming. They saw that where the end goal was. They saw where the end game was, and that's another thing they have is access to they have access to information that could potentially. They have access to potential. Damning information from the government. Like if the government or these shadow entities, the shadow governments had these insidious plans, the people would be able to find them would be in the CIA or the NSA. And so I think that is most likely what happened. There was a positive rogue group who saw where we were going, saw where the dollar was headed, saw where the nation was headed, and created this. Now, that's just, of course, complete speculation. But the thing is that whoever created this, Satoshi, they knew that all you needed was a little seed. If you planted the seed just right with just the right incentives, then it could grow. And that's where I think that's why I think governments, if the governments are not looking at it, and somebody mentioned in the chat, Horace mentioned that people, there's probably governments and banks are not looking at Bitcoin. It's just too small. The market cap is tiny, and there's only 3 transactions per second. No, they're still looking at it because they've seen the evolution of the web. They saw how fast that kind of stuff can go and evolve, and so I think that that's more than like what happened. Blake, did we lose you?
Oh, I think we lost him.
Oh no, the NSA, man. As soon as we start talking about CIA and NSA, dude,
Really too many secrets.
it's done. Too many secrets.
That was great though.
That was awesome. I hope Blake comes back. He said that if he did have problems, he'd try to get back in.
He was challenging my thoughts. That's good.
Exactly.
Bitcoin space.
I just with respect to the government being behind Bitcoin. Well, I mean, maybe it was a rogue government group, which would kind of be a good thing. But even if it was a malicious government group, malicious towards the people, that is, I mean, the Navy, I think it was, made Tor. I mean, they sometimes develop good stuff, and they don't maybe intend for it to be used as good as it ends up being used. But yeah, I guess they can.
Yeah, it's a shame that
they have good stuff.
He left. I wanted to get his opinion, on some of the actual block size debate stuff. What he actually thought, because that was going to be, the next article and stuff that we were going to get into. Oh, Blake's coming back. Let's see if we can get him in here. Technology, man. Did the NSA get you, Blake? What's going on, man?
It's scary. It's scary sometimes.
Dude, I've gotten shut down too. It gets crazy sometimes.
It's. I think that's part of the psychological games, honestly. Like the fact that that's even entering my brain, that it's something to worry about when weird things happen with my tech. It sucks, but what are you gonna do?
It's kind of funny.
Sorry, I missed what you're saying.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, it's just funny. We still got people like, let's see, what's this guy's name? He's been constantly in the chat calling everybody the tinfoil hats. Tom. Tom. I tell you, Tom, a lot of people think like you, man. A lot of people think that people like us and people who talk about shadow governments and stuff like that, and maybe even some of the stuff that Blake is saying, a lot of people think that's kind of tinfoil hat stuff and things like that. But remember, That's the idea. They want the whole even phrase or notion of conspiracy theory to be completely demonized. Like that's part of the plan. If you watch these documentaries, you can see that this is what they do. They set up a social structure in which anything.
You keep saying they
Right.
set up a social structure.
Right. So the people in power, right? The people we elect.
The people in power, assuming
Well,
the people
I'll-
in power are also collaborating.
So
I'll add a quick caveat. People who are capable of influencing with power.
yeah. So namely, who I'm talking about, namely Dustin, is the Morgans, right? The Rothschilds, these people who set up the banking systems and things like that. They're the ones who build societies. They're the ones who fund wars. They're the ones who have done this for the past few hundred years. Now these people, they set up these social constructs, these rules and these laws that allow that anybody that tries to say something outside of the social norm to be immediately demonized by everybody in the social norm. So it literally almost patronizes or gathers all these people together to use them as their own people against the agenda.
But humans do that naturally. Think of holidays.
Well,
Everybody
Again-
likes Christmas. Everybody likes Christmas.
Again, and even that, is
It's be the
part of
wrong day of the year.
And
It happens to be the wrong.
You must know that even a bunch
Holiday.
of these holidays are designed by corporations a lot of the times and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they
200
invented
years ago-
Christmas like hundreds of years ago.
That's what I'm
They were
saying.
just like,
200 years
this is
ago,
the
here's
longest
point.
day of winter. Let's
No,
all give each other
Dustin,
gifts and stuff
Dustin,
and every
stop.
single year. And any holiday that you don't like, I beat you up over.
So check this out, man. You got to look at history, right? 200 years ago, there wasn't this whole huge freaking scrambling for Christmas, despite what the movies try to tell you, right? Back in those times, there was scrambling of Christmas trees, Christmas gifts, economic booms of all of these shopping stores and shopping malls and things like that, right? There wasn't that type of it just didn't exist. Same with Valentine's Day, and even diamond rings didn't even freaking exist. As a way of giving somebody, as proposing to somebody prior to the diamond mines and those being bought and closed down and used to create false scarcity. This is all just standard social construct creation. So, but anyway, I don't want to get too far off of the topic here. So let's get back. So Blake, what I'd like to do, man, I'm just going to answer. I'd like to read a couple of questions on the left, but then after that, I'd like to go into a little bit into the block size debate, into the latest Medium article, or into that roundtable Medium article. Did you get a chance to check that out? The big.
Not yet. I had a hectic day.
Okay, no problem. If you want to, let me paste it into the chat so you can check that out while I answer the questions. This is going to be the first main article of the day besides having Blake here. We're going to go into the first article now, which is this here. Let me paste it into the chat. And yeah, so Bitcoin miners back proposed time. Okay, I don't want to go into it yet. I got to answer a few questions here. So first question is from Dave. Do you think that it is important? Do you think it's important that regulation should be ignored? Well, let me just get your view on regulations then, and maybe Blake a little bit. What do you think about the current regulation landscape in Bitcoin? If you could just kind of give us your thoughts on that real quick.
Me or
You
talking about-
Blake. Sorry,
Oh.
Blake, yeah.
Okay. I don't like it, but there's bound to be some sort of regulation. And I think I'm a libertarian / conservative. I'm a believer in limited government scope. And yeah, like what they're capable of regulating is a drastically more different question than what they're going to try to regulate. And I think right now they've got bigger fish to fry. And,
For sure.
I don't know what's going to happen with regulation though.
Cool. Yeah, and it's true. That's well said. Basically, they're going to try to regulate everything. I mean, they're going to try, just like the whole Apple debate that's going on right now, right? With Apple and FBI. FBI claiming that this is just this one little incident we're just going to break this phone with. But of course, this will set a precedent in the judicial system for years to come, like everything else does in the judicial system. One court winning is like, can be have consequences for hundreds of years, because they're literally the FBI is pointing to an act made in the 1700s that's allowing them to I can't remember the 1700s or 1800s, but it's like multi-hundred-year-old act that they're trying to use against Apple to try to get them to create this the backdoor. So it's they're gonna use this so they're gonna use this one case and say, look, it's just this one case, one place. But then they're gonna use that same technology to again bring it up, because once they do it once, they're gonna want to do it again, and that's what always happens. And so, it's just this big, huge privacy fight. Maybe just you could quickly weigh in on that. See what do you think about this whole?
I think the best solution is to innovate around whatever roadblocks that are coming up, and I think it's already happening. Like someone mentioned, Purse.io. That's a perfect example. It's like all the tools are out there. You can't really stop people from using tools that they already know how to make themselves. So it's yeah, Prometheus gave the fire away. What are you gonna do?
For sure. All right, cool. All right, so let's get into this first topic here. So the Bitcoin miners back proposal timeline for 2017 hard fork. Got the article pasted in there. Oh crap! I don't think I let you answer because I don't think I let you get to see the article because I asked you the question. So, but so the other guys are familiar with it too. So maybe I'll go and ask Daniel first. So. I'll go around. So, what do you, Daniel, on this whole consensus article? What do you think about this? First of all, the way that the consensus was reached between these people, and second of all, what do you think the community's reaction is to this? And third of all, what do you personally think? Is this good or bad for Bitcoin?
Yeah. So with this whole discussion we've already been having, one thing I've been thinking about mentioning is just that, this whole the idea of the government manufacturing this debate, if that's legitimate, that makes me feel a little bit better about not having had a strong opinion, because we do our show every week and we've been talking about this block size debate for months, and it was tough. I was like, I could never pick a side, and sometimes I felt like I should because people were so passionate about it. But the whole time I was just like, whatever. Like, if it happens, it happens.
You're like, whatever. I can still use Bitcoin. What's going on? What's the problem?
yeah. And if I can't use Bitcoin, I can use Darkcoin or Dash or whatever,
Or Litecoin. So let's not forget about Litecoin.
Right. Exactly. And so yeah. This makes me feel a little bit better about not having a strong side. And then so with this consensus. I like that they're starting small. I like that they're just going, I think they said 2 megabytes for the non-witness and 4 megabytes total, something like that.
I believe it was 2 meg with the SegWit and then a 2 meg hard fork to get it to get us to 4 meg. Okay.
So that, I like SegWit. I just love that phrase. It sounds awesome. So I can't promise you that it's not going to be a disaster. I know a lot of people think it could cause problems, and I know that a lot of the mining power was centralized. I mean, just like this meeting, 80% of the mining power was in room. I mean, there are pool operators, which is different than mining power, but it's a legitimate concern. So I can't promise you that it's going to be perfect or that it won't fall apart. But I am. I stole on our last show. I stole this line, this phrase from John Stossel. I don't even follow him that much. I just heard him say once with respect to climate change. With respect to climate change, he said he's not a climate change skeptic. He's a climate change catastrophe skeptic, and that's where I am. I'm a block size catastrophe skeptic. It might be good, it might be bad. It's not going to be a catastrophe. That's kind of where I'm at. So,
very interesting points. Very true. Yeah. So, Dustin, what do you think about this? Did you have any thing to say on this article?
On the article, no. I watched the consensus happen on Twitter.
That's right.
Which is a very different experience than reading a CoinDesk article.
Yes.
CoinDesk seems like it was all straight and easy, and Twitter revealed a bunch of guys bickering in a room for like 16 hours straight. over essentially very small details. Well, why it had to happen in Hong Kong behind secret doors without any media present, I just never feel good about that. But then if it's only, the 15 guys and they're going to say nasty things at each other, then, maybe I don't want the media present. Everyone should see what's his name? Samson. I have to look at it again.
I think it's Samson Mao.
Samson Mao tweeted an amazing notes of the entire meeting. Here, I'll share that in the chat as soon as I
paste that in. You guys definitely got to check that out if you guys haven't seen that. His tweets were epic.
It helped so much with my understanding, of the issues and everything.
See, that guy's not a bot.
Yes.
No,
that guy is awesome.
Verifiable. He's not a bot.
Very good. Okay, so very good point. So here, what I personally thought was, basically, I was kind of, I'm kind of with Daniel on this a little bit. So basically, in the beginning, I definitely stayed out of the debate. As it just kept going on, I just kept learning more. Felt that I had to learn more, as many people did in the community. I mean, in the beginning, the block size debate was very kind of inside, but then as it grew and grew and grew, it just kept growing larger into the periphery of every Bitcoin person ever. And so now virtually everybody now has an opinion on block size debate. And so basically I started out with not wanting to have an opinion because I think it's going to be okay no matter what. And I still do. But then I saw these forks, and the way that these forks were handled, the way that the marketing was handled by them, the way, for example, how fast Classic, like just everybody was like, I love Classic, it just blew up. I mean, the way that the marketing campaign happened, the way that so many people who I thought had a lot of integrity just hopped on board Classic, like without even reading the code, without reading the paper, without even looking at the website, even Roger Ver.
Wait a second. I didn't hop on Classic. I never ran a Classic thing, but I voted in the consider it page, and I said, yes, I would like a 2 megabyte block. From what I understand, that's a good idea. And eventually Core accepted that, right?
Well, yeah, BIP 109. I mean, that's
yeah.
That's what Classic is. And so,
right.
But the way that everybody jumped on that fork to hard fork, because Classic is a hard fork.
But it's 1,000 people. 1,000 people switched their nodes of the 5,000 people who were running a node at the time, right?
Right, and well, their numbers actually
to put pressure on Core to either you do this stuff or you're going to have a fork.
That's fine. So let me just finish my point. So basically, yeah. So everybody jumped on board with this, and I just kind of just didn't that didn't sit right with me. Like again, like even Roger Ver, like just all of a sudden, like I just love, he just wrote like a tweet like I love Classic. I have to, or he said something like I have to admit it, I love Classic, and then like tweeted a picture of like Bitcoin Classic, like with the Coca-Cola, and it's like this multi-billion-dollar network here, the future of humanity, no less, is pretty much at stake here, and we're freaking talking about. Like we're using Coca-Cola Classic memes. So I couldn't get on board with that. And the more I did research, the more I looked into it, the more I saw that how much work Core was doing, the more I saw how much code Core was checking in, the more I saw how much work had been how much what Peter Todd was saying and how much they were getting, what they were saying about the consequences of increasing block size too fast, and how we went to HTTP, version 4. By the time version 4 came out of HTTP, it was virtually unchangeable because of mass adoption and these types of points. And it just kept boiling down to more and more of this. Basically, this is what I came to the conclusion of. I just think that right now, our best solution is Bitcoin Core. They have the most check-ins, they have the most credibility, and again, of course, 9 of them are employed by Blockstream. That doesn't really hurt me too much. These people, we live in a world where you need to feed your family, you need money.
You're arguing and defending yourself now.
Maybe a little bit. This is what I do. It's my show. So basically, and again, you have to argue with yourself, right? You have to stay vigilant. You have to always question in order to to stay fresh. Like you can't just have one opinion, never change it. You have to always be vigilant. You have to always get as much information as possible. And so basically,
then what's wrong with all the people who switched to core?
I'm not saying it's wrong with anybody. I'm not saying anything is wrong with anybody. I'm just advocating my journey here. And so that's kind of where I've come is I think that core right now is the best way to go. And to hard fork right now is not a good idea. And apparently that's what the letter agrees with. We don't want a hard fork for another few months, at least into 2017. So my opinion on that is that I do agree with the consensus article that we need to stick with core and core compatible libraries. Now, with that being said, again, I still think that we need additional competition. I still think we need hard forks like Classic putting pressure on core, like as Dustin mentioned, things like that. We need to have an ecosystem where people are.
Now you're pro core. Right now you're pro Classic.
No,
pay attention to my words. Like Classic sits wrong with you, and you feel it in your gut. You're like, but I understand the purpose of Classic, and I want Classic, but I don't want Classic. There's like two of you in one person.
There's all sorts of subtlety in my language. There's all sorts of subtleties in my words. So if you're minding, go ahead and check it out again, and you'll see what I mean. But anyway, so
you are all sides of the debate here.
So yeah, so Blake, let me ask you on this article. I know you haven't read it, but just what do you think so far with the consensus? With this whole consensus with core with Classic, what do you think in your opinion? Because you've been following Bitcoin for a long time now, so you definitely know a thing or two about Bitcoin. So I just wanted to get kind of your opinion on
6 months, since July, yeah. Okay. Something like that.
That's long enough. That's long enough. Bitcoin
more than most.
Yeah, Bitcoin moves fast. So really 6 months.
Crazy fast.
It's like 3 years in any other field. So
I feel like I've aged about 3 years.
Exactly. Dude, same with me, man. I think everybody in this debate kind of feels like that. Like, and Bitcoin moves like 5 times.
I think that makes Daniel the oldest among us. So
yeah. Daniel's been in it the longest probably. Yeah. I came in 2012.
Think of it this way: you're drinking from a knowledge fire hose of cryptology, economics, social structure, governance. I mean, it's pretty much everything wrapped up into one tight little ball. And if you don't understand all of it, you're gonna miss some things. I did read a little bit about the meeting they had over there. And obviously I've been tracking this conversation. My take on it is it's like they're trying to steer this giant ship that's off sailing in the distance, and you got some people on the deck arguing over which way to turn it. They're not really going to turn it that much. It's still going to go whatever direction it's going to go because it's being driven by an engine that they don't really have control over. They just have control over the rudders. So, well, I guess it's not a great analogy, but
no, that's pretty good. I like that analogy. I like that.
Yeah, the engine's running the engine's running based on the market. The market is demanding this stuff. The demand for it is not going away anytime soon, and I have confidence that if catastrophe strikes, people will vote with their wallets, and they'll say, if we don't fix this stuff, then all the infrastructure that we've invested is going to turn to shit. So let's fix it. And I think putting a date, 2017 on it, whether or not that changes, it might change. But I think it's negotiation. It's a mark of maturity that things are taking place, and movement is taking place rather than just bickering, going back and forth. And I think it's probably a good thing that this block size chaos happened now, because a year from now we won't be dealing with the same problem. We'll be inoculated to it.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah, I mean, and everybody. Yeah, I think everybody agrees too. Like that, we needed to get this out of the way as soon as possible, because this is not block size is not the only debate that we're going to have with Bitcoin. This is just the freaking beginning. There's going to be all sorts of stuff, and the quicker that we figure out how to come to consensus, the better off everybody is going to be, and especially everybody in Bitcoin and Bitcoin itself. So definitely glad that we're getting this out early, and I've definitely learned a lot from this debate. Just really about human nature and about psychology and sociology. I've learned Bitcoin continues to teach us stuff every day, because as you said, it just touches every single facet of everything. It's kind of crazy, it's almost like a lot of people liken like Bitcoin to energy itself. Almost, it's like it is everything everywhere. It's kind of funny.
If you think about it, Bitcoin is essentially taking electricity and turning it into something fungible, and that's never really been done before. Like you've had people that have, like, I guess probably sold electricity on paper, from a power plant, but you can't really transfer energy that's been paid for
directly into a currency.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been. Yep. It wasn't done before, and this is why proof of work, I think, is so important. There's a lot of people against proof of work, and people want to maybe move into proof of stake and things like that. But I have to agree with Andreas, Antonopoulos on this. Proof of work is, maybe we'll figure out something. In fact, I'm confident that we'll figure out something more sustainable than proof of work. But for that's literally like the next generation of Bitcoin. I mean, that's like 10 years away. Right now, we got proof of work. This is what's going to power Bitcoin. This is because we haven't figured out a way for the past 1,000 years, until proof of work came along. So now that proof of work is here, okay, we're gonna have to stick with this for a while. And personally, I think that we should stick with it for a while. I think that it's doing amazing things, creating this decentralized, trustless network. A lot of people call Bitcoin mining completely waste of energy and things like that, but it is securing the network. It's what makes Bitcoin the most secure network on the planet. It's what makes the ledger immutable, absolutely immutable. For the first time in history, we have this immutable ledger that now no government, no central authority, no third party, no third party could ever interfere with or change. And so that's
Satoshi designed it to end. He designed it to the mining would end at some point,
which is also kind of fascinating too.
Like fees after that, and that because he imagined greater technologies would appear. He didn't give it 10 years; he gave it 130.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're slightly different in your estimates there.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's more about right. Like 50, like just decades, man, generations, for sure. And it's interesting that he did design it to end. I think that he thought that if this did succeed to the point to where we got all 21 million coins out, like that would change the world so much to the point to where it would change it enough to get the ball rolling, to actually have, on a utopian like society. So that.
And one thing I wanted to throw in is when I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard a scale of like the amount of people that have heard of Bitcoin, own Bitcoin, and you put that on like a technology adoption bell curve. Like we're on the far end of the tail. Like we actually know Bitcoin, use it, and actually understand it. Really not that many people that are capable of that right now. So as that number starts to grow, like you get more into like 5%, 10% of the global population that know and understand this technology, it's going to accelerate that change even more rapidly than it already has.
You had a whole show, Daniel, about this, didn't you? Where you guys just talked about the numbers of how many possible people there are versus the speed of adoption compared to like other technologies. I remember that one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've hit on those ideas quite a bit. Just the adoption curve and how it compares to other adoption.
What were we closest to at your analysis there? What was our adoption curve the most similar to for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it was.
Dude, he's done so many shows. Aren't you on like show 200 or something, Daniel?
Yeah, I shouldn't even ask. That was like show 80 or something. I'm asking about.
For sure.
We just put out 112 of our regular show, but we've done other live shows and Bitcoin in the arts and stuff. So.
Yeah, the show is on like number 12. So we're still touching on all these subjects and stuff like that. I started the show so that really just to help educate the public. Like this whole show started really from just me not wanting to stand on the sidelines anymore, and that's probably Blake maybe what inspired you to write the article. Like because you have all this knowledge that you've gotten. It's like, well, what do? You have two choices, right? You either share it and help raise the frequency of the planet, the help bring more education to people, or you just don't, right? You just go on waiting for the next Family Guy episode and keeping your mouth shut. Like, you know, like you only have two choices.
South Park.
South Park. So you just only have two choices. And so, like, you know, like myself, like I definitely
don't diss Family Guy. They made a great Bitcoin joke. That was like the funniest Bitcoin joke I've seen mainstream media make.
Let me tell you, it is increasing the Bitcoin jokes. I mean, the new Zoolander Bitcoin joke was absolutely hilarious. The Family Guy joke was great. You know, what Lois was like, we need to secure our financial future. Do you have any ideas? Something like that. And all Peter could say was Bitcoin. And then Lois was like, what? And he's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
And, you know, just like the Zoolander, everybody, that's the joke, is that, you know, like, they know it's worth money. They know it's worth something, but they have no idea what it is, how to touch it, how to get it, or anything like that. So like, so it really makes well for parody and for all these artists to put this out there, and it's great because, you know, it helps spread the word of Bitcoin. You know, obviously Family Guy reaches millions and millions and millions of viewers, so that's just cool. I wish South Park would do something with that, but they haven't.
They will. They'll do an episode, and Cartman starts his own exchange in Ethiopia, and he Mount Goxes it, and he.
Dude. Oh man, they need to do an episode of him looking like the freaking CEO of Mt. Gox, Capellas.
What do you mean looks like? He does look like.
Yeah, he does. Oh man, that would be perfect, dude. That would be perfect. Give him the coffee.
I was confused. I thought it was a parody at first. I didn't believe it. I was like, wait, is this like a joke guy?
That episode could write itself, man. They need to do something like that. So I hope that they do. Because, you know, they're looking at it. They're smart guys. You know, they've heard about it, and they're.
Oh, we lost Blake again.
Oh yeah, we lost Blake again. But
he's got bad internet.
He's got bad internet. I'll let him in again. But yeah, it went also to just like audio for a while too. So Blake's internet, yeah, your internet's definitely not the best right now, Blake.
That was actually me. I'm taking blame for that one. I got my phone's on the verge of death, so I had to run and grab my charger real quick.
Cool, no problem. Yeah, we had people using phones, tablets, and PCs. Like, Blab is awesome. They got it covered from all corners.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the cheap Google Glass.
Right.
And then we'll all do this on Google Glass, and you'll see us all walking around. It'll be confusing. We'll all be talking about Bitcoin.
That'll take like those people that are wandering around in the stores talking on the phones. You're like, wait, you're talking to me? Or that'll take it to a new level. They're walking around with glasses on talking to people. Interesting times.
We could show ourselves buying things with Bitcoin. It'll become a new fad.
Did you guys see that, before we move on to the next article, there's only one left. Did you guys see that picture of Mark Zuckerberg walking in, I think it was F8, with all of those people wearing the Oculus? It was just Mark Zuckerberg walking by, like.
And his smile.
Yeah, his smile was creepy,
dirty.
dude. It was literally like a king looking over his freaking minions.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was just like, yes, these are my sheep. It was.
Did you zoom in on it though? So the guy, he's walking right past the guy in the center, has a big Obama frown. He's like got a big not bad frown on him. He's like, Oh,
that's funny. Wow. So we got somebody in the viewer, Altec, wants us to explain how to buy Bitcoins and then cash them out. So I guess, you know, we can just really quickly before we move to the next
one. The basics.
Yeah, the best places to buy Bitcoin right now, you know, definitely for first world countries, which I assume you're in because you're in this blab, is going to be, you know, Coinbase and Circle. These two companies are Coinbase.com, Circle.com. They're going to be the easiest way to obtain Bitcoin. Of course, the one of the best ways to get Bitcoin really is to earn Bitcoin, you know, from your services. If you own a company, start charging Bitcoin. You'll start giving people the option for that. That's going to be the best way to actually obtain Bitcoin. But buying and selling, you can the same place you buy them, you can sell them. Coinbase and Circle, you can buy and sell. So that's with that out of the way. That's the best, easiest way.
And it really is not in the first world.
And if you're not in the first world, there's definitely some companies in Philippines, South Africa, and South America that are creating exchanges. I know that there's Bitcoin.py or I forget the address. There's a couple of them that are definitely trying to get that last mile in there for remittance and things like that. Make that a reality for third world countries, and so that's taking off, but unfortunately it's just not big yet. So I actually wouldn't know.
The chat wants us to say local Bitcoins.
Yeah, for sure. Localbitcoins.com. You know, that definitely is a good place. But the thing is that it's kind of shady. You got to be careful because you're literally like interfacing face to face with somebody. So it's like you're literally going to a street corner to buy money It's not the most safest thing in the world. Definitely look at the reviews. People they have ratings and stuff like that. So pay attention to the ratings. Don't just meet some guy with like a 1-star rating at a McDonald's at night.
No, with a lot of cash.
Yeah,
a lot of cash.
Yeah,
$20,000 in
unmarked
bills.
Unmarked bills.
Unmarked bills in an alleyway at 3 a.m.
For sure.
He wants you to come alone.
Exactly. So just buyer beware of that stuff for sure. So Coinbase and Circle, those are going to be the places to buy Bitcoin for the first world. So I would like to move on to the next article, but before we do, again, just want to thank you guys for joining in the show. We're just here to educate people. We're not getting paid for this or anything like that. So if you guys could definitely tweet out, if you guys are enjoying the show, tweet out the show, hit the Facebook button, all that good stuff. We appreciate it to try to get, to try to reach more and more people. Let's see here. The next article, yes. So this kind of ties right into it, and this still, I know we're over an hour already, but this will be the last thing to talk about. And this directly ties into the previous article, which was, the Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, speaking of Coinbase, the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, he came out publicly with a tweet and his own Medium article that's basically calling, the consensus article too little, too late. We need to just fork now. We need to fork now. The sky is falling. The Bitcoin can't survive another year. It's going to implode. It's all going to blow up if we don't fork right away. So let me paste this article in here. I just want to see here. The title is called Coinbase CEO Rejects Proposal for Bitcoin Hard Fork in 2017. I'm going to paste this in. All right. So first, I guess I'm gonna go around and see what you guys think about this. But first, Daniel, let me hear from you. What do you think about this article? Does Brian Armstrong's comments have merit? Like, what is he trying to say? Why is he going against consensus, or at least what we think is consensus? What's the deal with it? Why does he have such a big problem? What do you think?
Can you summarize this one for me? Because I didn't see this one, and I still don't see it in the show notes. So
it's the second link. I'll paste it in.
Oh, rejects. Okay, I thought that was the same as the first. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah. Get me if you can for now. I'll read it.
Okay. Okay, so I'll ask. Oops, watch out. I almost clicked the wrong button. Let me ask Dustin. I'll come back to you. Dustin, what did you think? Did you have any thoughts on what
I think Brian Armstrong thinks?
Yeah, what do you think, Brian Armstrong? What do you think about what Brian Armstrong thinks?
Well, let's see. I know so much about the man, so let me just judge his character here and make some logical fallacies here, if I couldn't. Okay, so I read the article. I don't understand why it's being published on Medium and not like the Coinbase blog. I keep putting. This has nothing to do with what he says, but I keep putting blogs in my RSS aggregator so that I can get the news, and then people keep publishing stuff, the things I'm not following, like the Bitcoin Roundtable. They just invent a Twitter account for that one occasion, and I'm not following that Twitter account. No one's following that Twitter account, but here, we just made it. It's very important all of a sudden. And Medium, and Brian Armstrong going on Medium and saying, oh, here's an article that hopefully you're all going to read. He needs a blog or a Tumblr. I don't know. I really enjoy the meme I've seen now of him with his Deal With It sunglasses. Have you seen that one? The Brian Armstrong Deal With It sunglasses. He doesn't give a fuck about consensus. The round table. He's like what's the guy? Mordred or whatever, King Arthur's round table. What's the guy? You know what I'm talking about, right?
All I can think of is Mordor when you say that for some reason.
No, King Arthur. King Arthur.
Okay,
King Arthur's illegitimate son. What was his name? Mordred something. You know what I'm talking about. Round table.
I'm just thinking of Monty Python at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not
Flying swallows.
The chat's gonna help me out here. Chat, anybody. King Arthur's
it.
illegitimate son stabs him to death. King Arthur. Mordred.
Sounds like Shakespeare.
No, King Arthur.
Okay, move on.
And it's a round table.
Henry V.
And there's one guy he doesn't agree, and he kills the king.
Oh.
And it's the end of the story. So that's all I can think of. That's not even like an argument or a point.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's fine. All right. So Blake, did you get a chance to? I don't think you said you got a chance to
yeah,
check
I
out.
get a chance. I heard tracking some of the stuff, so I'm aware of what he was saying. So yeah, I think he's another player. He has Coinbase and all the employees at Coinbase and all the capital invested in the Coinbase. He's taking that into account with everything he says. So, like in my opinion on Blockstream is similar. Like, I don't view corporations as necessarily evil or necessarily dangerous or necessarily anything other than corporations. I think they're gonna do what they do based on their perceived economic interest and nothing else. But with Coinbase, like, I think, or with this move towards, let's do something sooner, I think I can agree with some of that. I don't think 2017, over another year, a lot can change in a year and 4 months or whatever. So yeah, I don't disagree with wanting to stake out the plan a little bit, but waiting too long. Yeah, I guess I don't really know enough to speak definitively, but if he's going to say what is going to be in the best interest of Coinbase, and I think it's a big company. So
for sure. All right, cool. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I'm a catastrophe skeptic. I don't think that he's gonna just. I don't think that he's completely right in saying that it's a huge mistake. I don't think either way is going to be a catastrophe. But I agree that he's got a big stake there. But he also has a decent amount of weight behind him. So when he says something like that, it's going to get attention, just like it is now. It's going to get people thinking about Coinbase. It's going to get people thinking about, because we've already been over a ton how divisive this issue was. So, there's going to be a certain percentage of the community that's going to be like, yeah, this is a terrible idea. We should never increase the block size. I like Coinbase. Let's go with that. And so yeah, there's got to be some publicity behind it, but I would not disagree that. I mean, I guess most likely is that he's probably a catastrophe skeptic too. He probably knows that it wouldn't fall apart either way, or at least guesses that it wouldn't. But he figures, hey, if I can pick a side and get some fanatics on my side, then let's do it. So.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like what you guys are saying is it's a corporation. They're going to do what they're going to do. So let me weigh in on my opinion. So basically, I think that his actions are. I think that what he's saying is what he's saying about the actual consensus being too little, too late. I don't agree with that at all. I think that it might not be too little. It might not. Maybe it is a little bit too little. Maybe it's a little bit too late. But the action is what's going to really decide what's going to happen here. So we're gonna actually need real things to happen, not just promises and things like that. So, Andreas said it too. He tweeted out, said the same thing. Like, look, this is a move in the right direction, but let's wait and see what code actually gets written. So I'm kind of along the lines with that, where I'm glad that we got some consensus going on. I'm very happy about that. But let's see some code. But also, I think that this is, again, we're gonna have to make this choice. Are we gonna wait a little bit longer and continue with core and let them do their stuff, or are we just all going to choose to go on forks like Classic and things like that? We're going to have to wait and see. But I think personally that the way to go is what they've outlined in this article, which is segregated witness first, and then a little bit later do the hard fork. And what this will do is give the industry time to continue to build the foundations. As I said with TCP/IP, we saw what happens when how fast this stuff can occur, how fast mass adoption can come on, and we just cannot let that happen before we fix critical things in the system first. Bitcoin, we love it, but it is not ready for the global mainstream yet. It is not ready for thousands of transactions a second yet. It's not ready to be the size of Visa. It's not ready for the whole world to jump on board yet. So there's a lot more work left to do, a lot more consensus to have, and a lot more debates to go through. So I think that this is the right direction. This is going to give us more time to build up more infrastructure, to figure out more, to fix more bugs, to come to even more consensus, and to figure out how to come to consensus better. So I think that I really do like what was outlined, and I just love how everything is methodical with Blockstream. Everything is timed, methodical, thought out, planned. It's not just these corporations like Brian Armstrong saying, let's fork it now, fork it yesterday, fork it, we need to fork. So I like the slow, methodical process, because remember, we're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar network here. There's infinite amount of attack vectors that can happen that we can't even think of. I mean, there's so many attack vectors that literally only some of the core devs can actually even comprehend. That it's crazy. So what we have to do is we have to move slow and get this right, because we have the time to do it.
Sound like you're trying to figure out which version of the client to date.
Yes, I would like to date Core. So yeah,
you need to move slow. Classic is moving too fast for me. I'm not ready for this commitment. There's too much change. No one knows what's going to happen.
Core's been nice and stable for a long time here.
Right, and she's going to be there.
If you're courting Core,
she's having my back.
Classic could be out the door the next week. You don't know.
Running off to Vegas with all your money.
Now. Even how I feel about him.
For sure. So definitely, probably because that holds true with everything, right? If you're going to make smart decisions, you cannot make them in haste, right? Every smart decision is not made in haste. It's made. What
do you mean? Satoshi made the decision to make Bitcoin in like a year.
That's not. That's a long time, and I'm sure it took me.
It took him like a whole year.
I'll add a caveat to that one. The only times hasty decisions are useful is when hasty dynamic events are occurring and you have no other option. And right now we're not in an explosive firefight right now where we got to worry about, oh shit, all right, what size blocks are we going to have right now because the system is failing. We're just not quite to that disaster point yet. So that's when I think people really turn on their A game and say, oh shit, we got to do something. And if things do actually get bad.
For sure, and I agree with that. I guess another point I want to come across is that I don't think the sky is falling. I think we have the time. I think we have the time to get this right. If fees increase from 1 cent to 3 cents by 2017, Bitcoin is not going to die. It's not going to implode. And again, I have to agree with Daniel. Even if we do fork the Classic or something like that, that's still not going to kill Bitcoin. There is a whole mess of people involved in this. Miners, exchanges, people, wallets. It's just such a huge ecosystem that even something like forking to something that would fork into a version that would actually end up hurting it in the short term still is not going to kill it in the long term. Maybe it'll slow us down a year or two or something like that, but still at the end of the day, you just can't kill Bitcoin. You can't kill the idea of an open monetary system run by the people. And so it's going to happen whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's the next coin. As long as it happens is what we care about. So thanks so much, you guys, for joining the show. That was the last topic I had. I had a great time. Lots of stuff that we went through, some hilarious stuff at the end there. That was great, Dustin. I'm gonna have definitely rewatch that for that to get everybody's reactions for sure. So thanks so much, guys, for joining us. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. If you guys like the show, if you liked it, please tweet it out. Please tell your friends, let everybody know. Normally, we definitely allow people to come in. Tonight, we kind of had a full panel, so it wasn't any room for anybody to join in. But we always welcome new people to join in at any time. That's the great thing about Blab. Anybody can just join in, have a conversation with us. So if you like Talking Bitcoin, come back, join us again. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. This video is going to get uploaded to the World Crypto Network YouTube channel. So if you guys like Talking Bitcoin, we're also in there as well, in the World Crypto Slack. we're always in there. I know I'm always in there. Mad Bitcoins is always in there. You know, we got a lot of people in there. Justin, Daniel, we're all in there. So Blake, man, we got to get you an invite to World Crypto Network. We're all in there.
I'm down.
We're all in there all day. So we got to get you an invite. Mad Bitcoins, if you could like send Blake, you got his Twitter on there, bmiles84. If you could send him an invite to the Slack, that would be awesome.
Awesome.
So super appreciate your time, guys. Had a great time. Join us again next Monday, man. We love it. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks for the invite.
Peace.